Yes, ma'am, I am there.
Okay, just can you please give your brief introduction?
Yeah, myself, Ravindra Reddy. Since I am working TCS as accounts payable end user 2018.
Accounts payable, only accounts payable.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, can you hear me?
Your voice is actually breaking. I couldn't hear you properly.
Now, am I audible?
Yeah, go ahead.
I am working in TCS as accounts payable end user.
Okay.
I am working in
Accounts
P2B.
payable end user. You are in end user
Yes,
project.
end
Okay.
user.
Okay, so you are not being assigned to any project, right?
No, no, no.
Okay. How many years of experience do you have?
4 years of experience I am having.
Okay, so why you are learning, we want to learn VIM? Any,
Yeah, VIM
hello?
is a demanded course nowadays. All companies are using vendor invoice management. So if
Mm-hmm.
you it will take so much time. So that is the reason I am.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I think another 2% will join, right? I think there are 5 persons. Now I can see only three. Hi, Shubbu. Are you in the call? Just a minute. Okay. Let me call him. Okay. Just give me a second. Okay, then let's start. So about me, myself, Kaushiki Datta. So I'm based out of Kolkata, and I'm having this more than 15 years of experience in SAP FSU and on this open text VIM. So, and I have worked in many MNCs where I played a client facing role, and I had been on site for many clients. And apart from this, I'm also giving this training both external and internal. Okay, so that's all about me. Uh, so let's start the course. I don't know what has happened, but I can't share my screen. because sharing option is disabled for me. Okay, anyhow. So you know that the VIM is the what is the abbreviation? This is VIM. So it is vendor invoice management. It is a packaged business solution. Okay. So why do we want to use this VIM? Because without VIM also we can process the invoice, right? So if it is a non-PO invoice, we can use this transaction code. You know that FB60, right? And if it is a PO based, then we can use this MIRO. So uh, then if we are having this transaction code, if SAP has given me this scope that to process this invoice through these T codes, so then what is a need to install this VIM? So can any one of you tell me that why the client should opt for this VIM?
To reduce the processing time of invoice posting. That's the reason we can use the VIM.
Yeah, so that is
Automation
one
of
thing.
invoice posting. Automation of
Sorry,
invoice posting. Automation of invoice posting.
automation of
Automation of
invoice
vendor
posting.
invoice.
Automation of this invoice posting. Any other thing? Because there are so many advantages are there if we are using VIM. So we'll get to know step by step. So yes, you are correct that if we are processing this invoice manually, okay, so there is manual intervention, right? So and if we are using this paper-based invoice, so then we have to process it manually, and there is a high chance of uh, putting this wrong data. Okay, so there is no system validation is there. So suppose there is a 10 quantity of invoice we have received, and by mistake we can put 100 or we can put one, right? So in that case the whole this processing of this invoice might get wrong. If it is a non-PO invoice, obviously if it is a PO based invoice, then only we can populate the lines and we can check thoroughly, right? But if it is a non-PO invoice, then it might go to the wrong invoice process. Okay. And the second one is the yes, so for that we may give this the vendor incorrect amount, right? If they charge 1,000, we can give 100 or maybe 10,000. Okay. And third one is the yeah, so there is a less processing time if we use this VIM, vendor invoice management. So there we can see the less processing time, and we can track the invoice at each and every stage, means to with whom the invoice is lying. Okay, so there is a report, and anyone anyone in the process can track from starting from the AP clerk to the manager of this thing organization, so they can track why this invoice is pending for so long. Okay, what is the reason behind it? Okay, so what is the reason for this rejection of this invoice? Why we are sending back this invoice to the vendor? So there is a many reasons, and we can capture, we can track that particular each invoice. Okay, so that is one of the main reason. So what is so like I said that VIM is a package business solution. Second one is the VIM solves a business problem, paying correct amount to the vendors on time and with the lowest cost. Third one is the VIM delivers not technology but best practice business process. So as per the business process, we can design the vendor management this solution, and we can deliver this thing to the client. And VIM provides value to the customers in process efficiency, visibility, and compliance. So you know that VIM is an add-on to the SAP, because if you install this SAP, you will not
Okay,
find
can you
this
highlight
VIM
your screen,
transaction.
please? Hello.
Yes.
Can you Can you present your screen?
Yeah, now I can, because I'm having just a minute. Yeah, can you see my screen?
Just wait.
Is it visible?
Yes, yes, yes.
So I was talking about this first 4 points. Now I am going to the next. Vim is a SAP centric. Okay. So Vim it is an add-on to SAP system. The majority of the functions and processes runs inside the SAP system. So you know that if we install the SAP, we don't find this Vim installation. We don't find this if you go to the SAP SPR or SAP ZX screen. So we don't find Vim. So we have to install. So it is basically this add-on to the SAP, right? Vim deals only with the invoices that will be posted to SAP ERP. And Vim uses this technology. This is the ABAP. So you know that for each and every process technology, so there is a particular code should be written, right? So it is based on this ABAP code. And this is the workflow and the SAP NetWeaver portal. So Vim uses the standard SAP workflow. Okay. Vim integrates with standard SAP functions, invoice verification, financial processing, etc. So whatever SAP functions are there in ERP or in SAP for HANA, so the same functions can be done through Vim. Okay. So any
Excuse me,
questions so
Data.
far? Yes, yes.
Is it works only with the network portal or in the
No, no,
GUI
no, no.
also?
GUI also, NetWeaver portal. Now there's a Fury app. Okay. So in
Okay,
everywhere Vim can be used.
okay.
Okay. Any other question? Okay. So now why Vim? So we have already discussed this thing, the functionality and the benefits. So reduces cost per invoice, analyze and detects the presence of duplicate invoice. So you know this. So if we are processing the invoices manually, so we may forget that yeah, this invoice has already been processed. Okay, so there is no duplicate checker in ECC or S4 HANA, right? If we are processing through AB60 or Miro. But if you are using Vim, so system will automatically detect that yes, this is a duplicate invoice. So there is a configuration. So based on few fields, particular fields, the system will detect that yes, this is a duplicate invoice, and based on that, uh, we may cancel, we may obsolete that invoice, or we may send it to the further person or the information provider. There are many roles in Vim, we will get to know slowly. So we can send it back to that person to check whether it really a duplicate invoice or not. Okay. So there is another thing that the OCR options are there. So virtually eliminates manual process of keying invoice data. So that we have already discussed, right? So that we don't, there's no need to put that invoice data to the through our documents manually. Okay, so OCR, through the OCR means the optical character recognition. So this functionality is there through which that system will automatically pick the correct data from the invoice image and put it in the document. Okay, so there is no a chance of this doing mistake. Okay, this fourth one is avoid late payments, that we have already discussed that we can avoid these late payments for this if we are using this Vim. And this predefined workflows automatically routes this to the appropriate parties. So I told you that Vim is using this SAP standard workflow, right? So through this standard workflow, it will automatically route to the correct, like I said now, that for this duplicate invoice. So if it is a duplicate invoice, so we have to send it back to the either we have to cancel, yeah, we are, if we are pretty much sure that the invoice is a duplicate one, so we can obsolete this, we can cancel that invoice. And if we are having any doubt on this, So then we can send it to the information provider to provide further information on that particular invoice. So there is a predefined workflows are there. Lastly, this enables user to monitor bottlenecks, cycle time, and centralized visibility. So I told you that we can track each and every invoice. So we get to know that what is the bottleneck, what is the reason for that's is stopping to process this invoice. That the user will get to know. Even the top level manager can also see that why this invoice is pending for so long. Okay, so that is the enables user to monitor this bottleneck, cycle time, and this centralized visibility. So anyone can access that report, and they will get to know immediately that what is the reason of this invoice that the payment has not been done so far. Okay. So any question on this?
Kaushiki, so that the payment data will also update in the vendor invoice management?
No, it is starting from this one. It is vendor invoice management. So this is processing of invoice. Payment happens after it is processed, right? So what you are doing in Miro or AB60, just think about that.
Yeah,
So
correct.
AB60 or Miro, you are not putting any payment details, right? Not payment details, no. Payment details is automatically captured from the vendor data, but you are not doing any payment, right? It's just a
Mhm.
posting of the document in the ECC or in S4 in SAP, right? So payment part will come afterwards, right?
No, my question is actually, suppose we book the invoice and make the payment. So after the payments, that data will show in that report, or it will not show there.
There is an analytics report. Analytics report, from that report, you can see only the invoices posted in the invoice and what is the document number for
Okay.
this. Okay,
Okay.
not the payment document, but the invoice posting document, what you are doing through AB60 or Miro.
Okay.
Got my point?
And what about this OCR? OCR is a hardware or something, or it is a software?
Yeah, I'll tell you later. This is connected with the BCC, the Business Capture Center or ICC Invoice Capture Center. So in that, I'll come. That is later part. This is the optical character recognition. That is a functional AG. Okay, through which
Okay.
system can automatically read the invoice data, and then they pick the correct data and put in the document. Like we like you can imagine. So we are getting one invoice, one PDF invoice. Okay, so
Correct.
from there, we have to put it manually. It is the amount, what is the document date, what is the amount, what is the vendor. So we have all these things, we have to put it manually, right? But if we are
Right.
using this OCR technology, the system can automatically pull those data and put it in the correct field. So there is a less chance of getting this error, right? Happen.
Okay. Okay. And
Any
can we
other
tackle
question?
the invoice? Can we tackle the invoice which have maybe short quantity or excess quantity? Other means as compared to PO. Suppose PO have the 10 quantity and rate is 100 rupees, and vendor has
Mm-hmm,
sent the invoice for 10 quantity but rate is 110 or maybe the 90.
mm-hmm,
So can we
mm-hmm.
tackle that type of invoices?
Yes, yes, of course. Of course, we can tackle
Okay.
this.
So
Those
in
types.
that case, any approval workflow is there or any approval receiving
Yeah, 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 yeah.
so that all functionality is there in the VIM management, right?
Right.
Vendor invoice
Yes,
management.
yes, yes, yes. Any other question?
Not from my side. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Datta.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, as a VIM consultant, what we will have to do?
So may I know who's speaking?
Ravindra Reddy.
Okay. So I think you are a end user, right?
Yes, yes. And
Okay. So business as a VIM consultant, you have to like end user. What is your role in SAP? What are
posting
the
the
T codes you are
invoices.
posting the invoice,
I
right?
am
Wow. So
yes, yes.
what are the T codes you are using?
I am using FB60, ME23, and FBL3, and
Okay.
FB03.
And Miro?
No, PY invoices we are not posting.
Okay, okay, okay. So
Only
FB60 you
non-PY
are doing,
invoices.
right? FB60 you are
Yes,
doing,
yes,
right? So
yes.
vendor invoice management, so that is also if we are using the VIM, na, so in background it is also calling this FB60 on Miro in case of non-PO and PO invoice. Okay. So as a VIM consultant, so you are a consultant, so you are not a end user, right? So starting from the design phase, that you have to first understand the business process of the client. Based on that, you have to design that how VIM should be configured in their system as per the based on their business process. Okay, then you have to do some configuration, then you have to do the testing. So there are different phases. As you are not in the project, so you will not get to know that, you will not get this opportunity to know that what are the stages are there if you are in a project. So there are various stages in the project through which you have to go, and finally you have to configure, you have to do the testing. Then after that, once you are done from your side, then user will be doing the, from the client side they will be doing
Yes.
the testing, and then if they permits, then the go live will happen. So that is the entire business process. Okay, so as a VIM consultant, you have to do all these steps. Okay. Any other question? Okay, so let's move on the next slide. So this is the high level of VIM application. So here you can see that incoming invoice. Okay, so you may go, you may get the invoice through mail. Okay, and through paper document, that is hard copy invoice through mail. In the mail you can have this PDF form of this invoice. Okay, thirdly you can get the invoice through iDoc. There are different sources of invoice you can get. Okay, so after once you are getting this the invoice, so it will automatically, it will be archived and stored in this archive server, that the invoice image, and after that it will automatically trigger to the BCC or ICC. That's what the business capture center or the invoice capture center. There the OCR technology is there. So through OCR technology, the system will detect the fields and particular fields and put that particular data into that field. So once it is done, so that the document will trigger to the VIM, and the particular generate a particular document number. Okay, so now this create DP document, so that is a document number is got generated. So that is the document, this is not a SAP document number, but this is a VIM document number. Through with that particular now document, you can track particular invoice. Okay, so now then the indexing should will start. Okay, so indexing means that the indexer or the AP clerk means a junior clerk can view the invoice whether the system has correctly populated the data in the correct field or not. If not, because if system doesn't find anything for a particular field, and system presumes that for this field this should be the correct data, but in reality it is not. Okay, so then indexer has to validate all the data. Okay, that is populated automatically through the OCR technology. Okay, so then the system should validate this metadata, and if it is a sorry, hello, are you saying something?
No, no.
Okay, so system should validate this metadata whether all the metadata have been correctly populated or not, and Indexer will also check that if it is a duplicate invoice or not, that is a duplicate check. So all these things should be detected in this stage. Okay. So then the standard workflow should trigger if there is an exception. Okay. Like there are so many exceptions are there, like that the vendor is invalid. Okay. So for that, see, if there is a new vendor, for example, we are getting some invoices for a new vendor, and for a particular company code that vendor is there, but for this that for the, suppose for XY company that vendor is already created, but YZ company that vendor is not there, but system somehow detects based on the naming convention, based on the telephone number, or based on the email ID, system somehow detects that this should be the vendor, but that system should populate, but that vendor is not created in the system for that YZ company code. So then system will trigger an exception, that is the invalid vendor. Okay. So there are so many exceptions are there, that missing invoice date. Okay. um, that PO quantity, like you said, na, that the quantities are not tallying, something like that. But the price, that the price is tolerance exceeded. So like this, you will find n number of exceptions are there. And what will happen if there is this exception? So based on the exception, system will trigger the workflow. Okay. And it will route to the invoice to the concerned person. So like I said, na, that if it is a duplicate check, system trigger that exception, this is a duplicate invoice. So in that case, if you just click on this apply rules, so it will trigger to the duplicate checker, whose responsibility is to check that this particular invoice, that whether it has already been processed earlier or not. Okay. So like this, now this is a standard workflow. So based on these exceptions, so system will automatically trigger that the document to the correct person. So that is the main benefit that we are getting in using through VIM. And if it is all fine, that all the documents have been correctly populated, all these things, and no exceptions is got generated, then the SAP document will be posted. Resolve the, see, you can see now, resolves the exceptions and then automatically post the invoice. Okay. So up to this part, it is within VIM. Okay. See, you can see the payment. Payment is happening after this part. Once the document is posted in VIM, and then the payment will take it forward. Any questions?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Question is, in the first step, capture image, there is a
Mm.
archiving. So what is the meaning of this archiving?
Archiving means, so you are getting thousands of invoice every day, right?
Right.
So archiving means that the document, you are getting those invoices, and it will be archived and it will be storing. It will be stored in another archive server. Okay. So that
Okay.
in future, if we will need some documents to to find something on the document, that yes, we it is if it is fine or not, so you can track it. So archiving
Okay.
means the documents will be archived and stored in a different archive server.
Okay. Suppose it is scan and immediately that time it will archive on some other
Yes,
server, right?
archived and stored in that archive server.
Okay. So it means that it is a backup of that initial scan document.
Yes, yes, you can say that.
Okay. And one more thing is that in the case
Mm-hmm,
of VIM, is
mm-hmm,
there any specific data has to be provided by the vendor to run
mm-hmm,
this functionality?
mm-hmm.
Suppose
Specific
we
data
got the invoice
means.
suppose we got the invoice from vendor, right? Suppose we'll
Mm-hmm,
take the case of non-PO invoices. On that
mm-hmm,
non-PO invoice, there will be no purchase order only the vendor name would be there, right? So how system would know that so this vendor name has this vendor code in our system? That how that correlate?
No, when we are getting some invoices, so the vendor name should be there, right?
Yes,
And
right,
what your question should be that how the system will detect that it is a vendor code should not be there, but the vendor name should be there, right? Vendor name,
right,
vendor address, telephone number, email ID, right? Bank
correct,
account
right.
number, right? IBAN number.
Yes,
So all this
yes,
information should be there. So
right.
based on those 4 5 fields, system will detect. So okay, so this is the vendor number and all these things. So this should be this vendor number for this company code.
Okay, I mean there's some
The
validation part would be there, right?
validation, and this is a machine learning, so automation you can say. So based on
Okay.
those information provided on the vendor invoice, system will automatically detect the vendor number and for that particular company code.
Okay, Datta, I
Okay.
had to ask one question here.
Mhm,
If the invoice copy is not clear,
mhm.
how the
then
system
then
will recognize that one?
if it is not clear, then system can if it is a blurred invoice image, right? So in that
Hmm,
case you can reject those invoice and send it back to the vendor.
is it?
In that
Okay.
case system will not, it is not easy for them to get that to capture all the data, right?
Okay. So up to what type of a print, like a colors, it is dark or light? I mean, if it is not much more dark, system will recognize. It is clear. I can
Yes,
readable. The invoice copy I
how
can readable, but when I scanned it, maybe it is the time it is a little bit not readable thing. System will detect
if the
automatically that.
information, so there is no limitation that how much darker inverse and how much this lighter inverse. If the data is properly readable from the inverse image, then it is fine. If it is whether it's a dark, whether it's a
Okay,
green
okay. I'm
color, whether
asking
it's a
me
black
in the
color.
system it is
Mhm.
not recognizing, but I can view that one. So I can manually enter that one, the details.
Yes, you can. Yes. That you can do. That you can do.
Okay, okay.
Any other question?
No, no, thank you.
So these are the components of VIM. This is the enterprise scanner. So this is the enterprise scanner. So that means that you are getting some paper invoices, right? So
Right.
there is an enterprise scanner through which you can scan those invoices and send it and stored it in a different folder, right? You can say, okay, where all the users can access that folder. From that folder, so when you start processing those invoice, so you can take that particular document from that folder, and then you can archive that invoice image and start your invoice processing. So this is for the enterprise scanner if you are getting this hard copy invoices. But nowadays it's a very 0.1% of vendors are sending this invoices through hard copies. So all the invoices are nowadays are being sent through mail. Okay. So next one is the ICC that I'm saying, that invoice capture center. So what does it say? So a dedicated interface registers the new invoices and credit memos as DP documents within SAP and VIM. So this is actually the playing a role of, actually it's an interface which is linked with this VIM. Okay. So whatever debit memo, credit memo, invoice, whatever invoices we are getting, so it will capture and it will detect all the data. Okay. Next one is the email.pdf invoice to be archived and subject to the OSA with a scheduled job. So whatever invoices we are getting, so it will automatically. So how to automate this? So there should be some background job that when the invoices are coming, so it will be immediately triggered to the ICC, so that to extract the data from the invoice image. So that is why they're saying that the with a OCR to with a scheduled job. So there is a job is running in every minute that whenever we are getting some invoices, so it will be automatically triggered to the ICC to capture the metadata from the invoice image. Third one is the invoice capture center, which have optical character recognition, begins to interpret and extract the appropriate metadata from the invoice image. So that these points I think we have already explained several times, right? Fourth one is the ICC performs a full metadata extraction. And last is the ICC provides an initial validation framework to try to ensure that sufficient data has been captured from the invoice image prior to handling over the responsibility for onward processing to the core VIM application. So one rounder before indexing. So if we go to the this screen, so before indexing this capture, this metadata capture has already been happened, right? In this stage, you can also put one validator. So they can validate at this point of time. And then after that validation is done, then only they can send it to the indexer. But some companies use this validation role, some companies are not. If the company is not using this validation role, okay, to be performed in this stage, so in that case what will happen, the system will automatically trigger that whatever data is captured from the invoice image, so with that the system will automatically trigger that invoice document to the VIM, right? So at this stage, so when this document is in the hand of the indexer or the epic clerk, so they will validate, they will monitor that if yes, all the data, all the metadata has been correctly captured. Okay, so that is the thing there. It is written that the ICC provides an initial validation framework. Okay, so there is a one round of validation has already been done if the client wants. Okay, to try to ensure that the sufficient data has been captured from the invoice image prior to handing over the responsibility of the onward processing to the core VIM applications. So core VIM applications means, so from here this core VIM applications is started from the indexing, right? So before that there is a scope to validate the invoice. Okay, so next component is VIM. That is the IM has the determined invoice management has determination procedure to identify whether the invoice is PO or non-PO related. Okay. After resolving the exception, the ACP documents will be posted to the to LIV. LIV means the logistic invoice verification. Okay. So so this is the invoice management. This is it's talking about this VIM. So VIM, from the invoice image you can get to know that whether it's a PO invoice or the non-PO invoice. So a system to be able to read that whether to confirm that whether it's the PO invoice or not. So PO number should be reflected in the system. Okay, so that the system should understand, oh, okay, the PO number is there. That means it is a PO invoice. Okay, so with that the system can bifurcate whether it's the PO based invoice or the non-PO based invoice. And the second verse is after resolving the exceptions. So I said that all there are number of exceptions can be triggered. So all the exceptions should be resolved, and then after that SAP documents will be posted to LIV. LIV is the logistic invoice verification. Okay, and last one is the Miro posting. So that means when the document is posted, so that means it is a part of ECC or the S4 HANA. That means the document is posted to SAP. The document number that got generated, you can check in a bill 3 and a bill 1 and whatever transaction code you are using. So you can check over there that what is the document number. That it means that is happening in ECC. So any questions for this slide? Anyone?
No.
So this is the archiving of invoices. I told you, so this is a screenshot that I'm using in here. This is a T code which is OAWD. So from there, so manual upload of the invoice image. So for this is being used for the hard copy invoices we are using. So manual archiving is happening through this T code. Okay. So if you are selecting this thing and there's a drag and drop, so you can drag and drop for this particular folder, and you can drag that particular folder and drop it that particular invoice in this system. Okay. This is a validation screenshot for this ICC. Okay. So you can see the right hand side, you can see the invoice image, and the one is the invoice. So system will automatically detect all these things. This is PO number, gross amount, VAT amount, this is the document days, and the vendor VAT number. So all this is vendor number. So based on this criteria, their vendor details are there, right? So vendor details, based on that, so it will detect that okay, this is the vendor details. So that means this is the vendor code, vendor number for this thing. Whatever the tax rate is there. So all these things will be captured from this invoice image. So this is a screenshot of this ICC or BCC. Okay. So this is the config part I'll talk to later. This is the workflow part. Okay. So there are different workflows. So this is the buyer workflow, vendor maintenance, AP processor, and the indexer. So how this thing will happen? So this is the thing, enter indexing. So for this indexer, first role is the to index, to put
What
all
is
the,
the
to
T
check.
code for workflow, Kaushi?
There is no such T code for workflow. The
Uh,
workflow will be triggered in background, right? So did you find any T code for workflow in SAP without VIM?
yeah, no, no, no.
Then
I thought for Vim any separate T codes
no, no,
there.
no, no. I told clearly at the beginning of this class that there is a predefined workflow, and that is the SAP standard workflow. There is no such segregated workflow for VIM. Okay.
Okay.
So VIM is using only the SAP standard workflow. Okay. So these are the process they are being followed for the indexer, for the AP processor, and the vendor management buyer. So for each of the roles, these are the roles in the system. Okay, so these are the roles. There are different processes that needs to be followed. This is the workplace from where you can see that the what is the document number, processing the DP document as workflow agent. So this is a role that is using, that is this separate T code through which you can, these are the exceptions. See, invalid PO number, suspected duplicate, process PO invoice. So these are the exceptions are there. This is the VIM workplace. So like the document should be look like this when the document is created. So you can see now this 292 should be there, right? So 292 is the document number. UK 292 is the document number. So this is the dashboard data. So what all the process options, this for the indexer, as an indexer, what all the process options they are having. So you can see, so this is basically configuration part. So if they can click this C, refer to the vendor database administrator. So if he is not find, the indexer is not find to comment on this thing, so he can refer. Okay. He can, system by mistake system detects that it is a non-PO invoice. Okay. But it should be the PO invoice. So in that case, what will happen? The indexer can change the document type. See here, it is a process PO invoice. That means it is a PO invoice, but originally it is a non-PO invoice. Okay. So in that case, they can change the document type. This is a processing DP document as a workflow agent. So how they are going to process this thing. So this is for this screenshot. This is the linkage between the VIM DP document and the MIDO document. Okay, so you can see now this the Miro document. If you are posting anything in document, so this is a 5 series document number got generated, right, in Miro. So this from the here you can see okay, this is a Miro document. Is a, you can say now document type is ZPO. ZPO means this is a PO document. A ZNPO means we have designed like this, but is client wish how they can define their PO or non-PO document. Linkage between the VIM DP document and the Miro document. So if you can open this thing, na, display DP document, and this, if you are opening this thing, you will find that from the PO number also you will, if you put in the VIM analytics, if you are putting this PO number and you can execute with that PO number, you will find what all the documents have been posted through VIM for this particular PO. Because you know that in the PO, there are several line items are there, right? So for this and the vendor is sending suppose one invoice for each month. Okay, there are 10 line items. That means you will be processing 10 different document numbers for this particular PO, right? So at some point of time you just want to know that how many invoices have been processed so far for this particular PO. So you just put that PO number in that report and you just execute, then you will get all the details for that particular PO, for what which line item you have already processed the document, and everything you will get to know. So that's all about VIM overview for today's session. So any questions so far you can ask me
Datta, it's
now.
Praveen. Datta,
Yeah.
we need to use any particular scanners, particular type of scanners, or we can use any scanner to utilize this VIM?
Particular scanner means you should use the digitalized scanner. So from there you can just, you know, that we in our offices we are having some nowadays the scanner. That means you can scan, you can mail,
Okay.
right? After getting this
Mm.
the document scanned, you can mail that document to your mail ID. Okay, from there you can store it. So these, that basic functionality should be there. So there is no hard coded thing that yes, this scanner number, this so and so, this scanner should be installed like this, but the basic functionality should work.
And one more thing, SAP is supporting this VM through support.sap.com, or any other place we need to go if we want to find any documentations for the
Actually
reading,
this is the
or if we want
document
to raise any issues.
so here two things. This product is basically by the OpenText, right? OpenText
Yes,
has
yes.
created this product, right? OpenText, we are calling it OpenText vendor invoice management. So now there are two things. If the client is purchasing this document, this software from OpenText,
Mm,
then
mm.
OpenText is responsible for any of the issues you are facing. You have to raise,
Okay.
like we are using raising OSS, right, for any SAP issues.
Yes, in
So
SAP.
like
Yeah.
that, yeah. So like that, if you are facing any issues, then you have to raise it to OpenText. But nowadays
OpenText.
what happened na, SAP also, I think there is something that agreement has been done, so you can purchase this software from SAP also. Okay, that is
Okay.
been between SAP and OpenText. So if you are purchasing that software from SAP, so then in that case you have to raise the issues you are facing to SAP only. Okay,
Okay.
so there are two actually, source systems are different, but the product is same.
Okay. If we want find any documents for the, so I'm starting implementation, fresh implementation
Hmm.
product. So I
Hmm.
want to know the documentation, how to do setup, installation, this stuff of things.
Haha, so
So where I can
everything
find,
you
is
will
it an SAP
every
or OpenText?
open, if you are, that is the word I'm telling you na, that if you are purchasing the software from SAP, you will have to log into SAP and you will find it. And if you are facing there should be some ID, right? We are having
Yeah,
this
yeah. S is
SID,
ready.
right?
Mm. Yeah.
So like that OpenText also, we are, you have to have some IDs. So you have to, if you are logging in that case, so you will get all the documentation.
Okay.
Yeah, hello, Kaushik.
Yes, tell me.
To become a VIM consultant, we should have knowledge on SAP FICO, or
Yeah,
we
so
can try
you know that
without
it is a
knowledge.
niche skill. So you know this is a niche skill today. Okay, if you know Vim, so you will get ample opportunity. Okay, because most of the clients are nowadays using implementing this Vim. Okay, installing this Vim, and specifically Vim is integrated with the AP module, accounts payable module.
Yes.
Okay, and some parts of the MM side, because you know how to create this PO, how to do the GL, how to do the how to release that PO, so everything you know, right? And after that, the process will start. Though PO creation is not in your job, but every time you will not ask the MM team, right? That please create this PO. This is a vendor number, and so on. So they might get irritated, right? So if
So
you
we should have
know
knowledge on P2P cycle.
knowledge on MM and FI in AP
Yeah.
part, only the AP part. Yeah.
Only AP and MM.
Yes.
So then we can try as a VIM consultant.
Exactly.
So apart from that, we no need to have knowledge on asset accounting, general
No, no,
ledger.
no, 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 no.
So SAP FICO is a different course, VIM is a different course.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So you will be explaining support and implementation both, right, in this training.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Kaushik, I have one question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Go ahead, please.
Will Vim take care of the standard tolerance key which we use normally while booking the Myro? Suppose
Mm-hmm.
there would be some tolerance of 10%, 5%, or
Where
something
do you maintain
on
tolerance? Where do you maintain that tolerance?
that
You
is the
know that?
invoice management. In the material
Ah,
management, there is a invoice, incoming invoices. There
what is
we
the
maintain the
code?
tolerance.
What is the T code for that? Do you know that?
I don't remember actually. I go through the
Okay.
path actually.
Yeah, the same thing happened here. We will
Okay.
also track that the what is the tolerance is being configured in the system for this particular vendor for this particular company code. System will
Okay.
track that tolerance. System will check. System will validate, and then the system will calculate based on that tolerance only.
Okay. You mean to say that in Vim also we have to configure the tolerance, or you will take
No, no, no,
from
no,
the
no, 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 no. System in Vim we no need to define the tolerance separately.
okay.
Excuse me. So in Vim there is no need. Okay. So Vim will track that whatever tolerance has been maintained in SAP only. That is the T code is OMR6. Okay.
Yeah, right.
So
Right.
in SME OMR6 you will find that tolerance limit.
Okay. So that invoice reduction, like suppose we give the PO rupees 100 rupees to the vendor, right? And vendor has
Mm-hmm.
sent the invoice 110. So
Mm-hmm.
normally some of the client use that will book the invoice of 110, and
Mm-hmm.
immediately for 10 rupees they will book the entry for invoice reduction. So that type of we can do with the help of vendor invoice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If it is within 10%, so system in that case system will not trigger any exception. So it is fine, na? Within the tolerance limit. But if it is
Right.
20%, if it is 11%, then in that case system will raise that this exception that see here is we can see that this tolerance is not matching. So uh, it's your choice whether you are going to process this type of invoice, or whether you are going to send it back to the invoice to um, uh, update, okay, that invoice.
Okay.
So that is your choice. That is your
Actually,
choice means that is a business decision actually. Yeah.
right, right. Actually, one of our client is using the function like that. So I will tell you the example. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I have given the in a purchase order of rupees 1,000 to the vendor. Okay, and he
Mm-hmm.
has sent the invoice of 150. Sorry, 1,050 rupees. Okay, So in that case, what they do, in that case, they will book the invoice rupees 1050, and immediately in the same Miro document, immediately invoice reduction will come in the picture, and the rupees 50 will be debited to the vendor and credited to the invoice reduction account.
No, no.
So
So that is they have customized it like this. That is
no,
they
it is a
have
standard
customized.
solution. It's
So
standard solution given by
you
SAP.
are processing in Vim.
No, no, no. In SAP, we are. I'm talking about.
Okay,
We are doing in SAP.
in SAP, in SAP, yes, whatever the standard functionality is there in SAP, that will work. But
Okay.
in Vim, if you are getting something beyond that, this tolerance limit, tolerance amount, so and still if you want to post this, then they say there is a blocked workflow will be triggered. Okay, the
Okay.
document will be
Okay.
posted, but document
Okay.
it is not, it will be not ready for payment. It will be blocked. Okay,
Okay.
so then it will be triggered to the some other person. So I'll discuss it. I'll discuss it. No worries. Okay. Any
Okay.
other question?
No
MM
more
thing
questions.
also you will cover right in this course, possibly MM part also.
I'll try. Okay.
Because I don't have experience on Myro, PO.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll try. I'll try to cover that part.
So, what would be the duration of this course?
That will be communicated to you. I think after this is a demo class, so
Okay.
that will be communicated to you after this. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So what will be your feedback based on this today's class? So have all the questions have been answered, or any doubts, any thing?
It's absolutely clear. No doubt from my side.
Praveen?
Session was good.
It is okay, Datta. We will update it. Yeah.
Yeah. So then for today's, so we are closing this call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you
Bye.
for nice
Bye.
session.
Yeah. Bye.